That's to clarify the,
Yeah, I just need to clarify that as far as Dennis Wright goes, there's that magic line that's Birch City and St. Francis.
yeah,
So he would be the assistant chief for that east side.
right.
Chris Labarge would be the assistant chief for the west side.
I think that's the way we
So I don't know
originally,
if we needed to appoint him as that. Because if we appoint Dennis Wright as the assistant chief, then he's kind of in charge of the county if I'm gone. Is that correct?
So would you like to,
amend what we, so we probably need to come back and correct that and make Chris Labarge assistant for the west half of
Right.
Cheyenne County
Correct.
and Dennis the assistant for the east half of the county.
Well, don't we have 2 fire districts?
No, it's,
Not
well,
one.
three, but that's,
Yeah.
the rest of it's all one.
Oh, okay. Oh, man.
The only thing is, I mean, Dennis coming over here, he's probably not gonna know anything, and Chris coming over there.
I was
Well-
thinking of it.
so what I would do is, because the motion is already passed, as stated, we need a motion to rescind that motion
And then a new motion.
and then a new motion.
Okay. Get it straight in my mind here. Okay, we need to rescind the first motion made to appoint Dennis Wright as the Cheyenne County Assistant Fire Chief. So we need to rescind that. Do I hear a motion to go ahead and rescind that?
I'll make a motion to rescind that.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. And then now we need a new motion to recognize Chris Labarge as also an assistant fire chief in Cheyenne County for the Western District, for lack of a better word.
I think basically what you're doing is you're making a motion to confirm the appointments by the chief of Dennis Wright as the assistant chief for the East District and Chris Labarge for the West District.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make that motion too.
That makes it a lot easier on me. I'm glad you're here.
Thank
All those
you.
in
But
favor?
someone is.
Aye. All right, is that,
I think that's good. I just didn't want to get myself in trouble.
Well, sure, and-
No, I appreciate that because there are so many things that we need to get clarified and
well,
we need that information.
and you stop and think about it, we do have 2 firehouses, so it makes sense to have somebody on each side.
And while I'm here, I'll tell you guys, I haven't talked to the city yet, but they're gonna know. When we start putting people on, we're gonna do our vote up there, do whatever, to put them on.
Right.
And then I'm gonna take it to the city and the county and make sure you guys and the city both agree, appoint the person on before we actually tell the person you're on.
I appreciate that very much.
Because it's kinda like the thing you had with the fair board a while back. I think we need to start doing that.
Yeah. And like I said, that we're trying to get this uniform with all of our county
Right.
appointees and county entities. So, yeah, thank you for that. Because that'd have been an oversight, we would have.
And then if you guys disagree with what the city says, you guys can fight it out.
Yeah, there's more of them than us, so. Okay.
That's all I got.
That sounds great, Dan.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Who motioned that last motion?
Willie.
Willie, okay. Missed that.
See if Cody's ready.
Foster.
I don't know.
I think he's the district
I did get an email from him the other day.
something. Can we set up 5 minutes? I might have you, I don't know, maybe do another article or ad or something. We've only had 2 people or 3 people file for,
For the bus driver?
no, for the election. So,
Oh, I can do another one.
'cause we've had 2 people file for Cheyenne board and 1 person file for the school board here. That's it. No city offices or anything.
I can do that.
I got an email from this guy here a while back, but now I can't find it.
I got one too, I can't find it.
You can't even find your phone, much less an email on it.
And I didn't get one, so.
I had someone from the hospital contact me about
Hi, Candy.
the student loan thing, and we weren't doing that.
Yeah.
And so I called them and then, well, are you doing the businesses that will do this? And I said, let's just come in and straighten this out on this.
Okay, basically what it is they had given us a document in regards to what percentage the county was going to contribute towards this. And in the past, they had put 0, but let the businesses go ahead and do it. All we need to do is, if that's what the board wants to do, put a 0 in there, get it signed, and be done.
But the way it looked to this new person at the hospital was that the county would pay $15,000 of her tuition. So,
Who looked at that wrong?
so
No.
that's why I called him to say, hey, and then he brought up all this other stuff. And I said, well, let's just come and
Yeah.
we'll hash it out. So
Right,
we
because
know.
it is confusing
Yeah, it
as
is.
to, okay, how it all works and why the commissioners are involved, and I haven't quite understood that myself.
Candy, I think we're ready if you are.
Oh, good morning. How is everybody?
Good.
I just wanted to give you an update. I saw in the paper that you guys had written about the mental health, that we don't have High Plains anymore. So I guess I'm coming on behalf of the grant that I've been looking for the health equity. I think I came to, so we have 2 different agendas for my health equity work in Cheyenne County. And it's mental health and also food access. So we've been working on both of those. This is, if you, Willie, you probably don't know, it's just like my job is part-time, 16 to 20 hours a week that I work. The hospital got a grant to work on health inequities in Cheyenne County. So we work regionally and locally. So that's the background behind that. So I just wanted to update you, because we don't have High Plains Mental Health, we have been with this grant working on what's called trauma-informed care or adverse childhood experiences. Have any of you heard of that? Not. Okay. All right. So for me, like we have had a mental health task force in Cheyenne County since last March. Probably actually longer ago than last March, but that we've just been meeting between the school, law enforcement, healthcare, Meredith, who is our local counselor, and just to say what is our situation in Cheyenne County, and how do we best meet the needs, because we already knew that. You're not going to put this on the record, are you? Yeah. We've struggled with High Plains mental health as a hospital, and I don't want to be speaking out of turn, but looking at that investment and saying, is this the best for our county for investing that money, and what are our outputs? What are we really gaining? So as the mental health task force, what we decided to do was now you can keep recording. Was to work on Meredith, who's a local counselor. She takes Medicaid, Medicare, most private insurances. And then we also thought, what is preventative? You know, how can we stop waiting until they're all the way up here, escalated and having issues, to how can we bring more county awareness of what mental health issues are, what is acceptable and what's not. And so what we learned about was this ACEs, which is, it's a scoring system that the school introduced a couple years ago. And you basically score if you have these life situations going on. If you have 6 or more on the scoring of 10, your life expectancy on average is 20 years less. But it also leads to learning disability or learning issues, poverty, mental health, addictions, all these things that for my work working with the poverty families, then I was like, this is a kind of preventative, so why are we not looking at this as opposed to always looking at how do we treat it? So I just wanted to tell you guys as commissioners that we are working on ACEs and we're developing relationships with the schools and the community. Like we are showing a movie called Resilience. We just saw it Monday night in Bird City. We showed it 2 weeks ago here in St. Francis. And it just introduces the concept of ACEs, is that if you experience these things in life, it comes out in mental health issues throughout the lifespan. And so if we can intervene and heal that early on, then we don't have mental health issues, hopefully. You're all looking at me like, this is all new information.
And it is.
Sorry.
But your grant is geared to what end? Are you trying to open a clinic or an office, or are you trying to get?
Our grant from the Kansas Health Foundation really is asking for authentic engagement with the population that you're serving. So ours is the 40 families of the food bank in St. Francis.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Who's this going to be available to?
So it's available, it's for the whole county. It's not just for the food bank. They were just the ones that brought up the idea of we need mental health services or something different than what is going on. And then food access. So that's food affordability, freshness, should we garden, like all the issues that as a food bank that we have kind of circled around. How do we be more self-sufficient as opposed to dependent? So,
Candy, have you spoken with like court services and community corrections pertaining to probationers that might be in need of counseling services in Cheyenne County?
besides Judge Keller? I mean, Judge Keller's come to our meetings and has visited with Meredith. So
this would be Kathy
that.
Russell and Ann Goodland and Darren Organ out of Colby. Because there are several people who are on probation that are in need of counseling services.
Okay.
And so the go-to has always been High Plains, but if this is available in Cheyenne County, I'm wondering if they are aware of that so that they could be redirecting these people so that they aren't having to travel.
And that's the barrier. I'm not saying that High Plains is not a good resource,
right?
Because they were great for that, and now people are having to drive. And
exactly.
So for me, I was like, how do we fix this in the meantime? And so that was people didn't even. Meredith has been here for over a year, and we didn't even know that she. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're still struggling with getting her name and contact information out.
I will give you Kathy and Darren's numbers.
Okay,
how's that?
That'd be perfect. Yeah. So hey, Cody.
And again, and this service is going to be located in St. Francis in the hospital?
And it's not really a service, Terry. Like what it is it's community education as well as there's programming in the schools. So it's like trauma informed, and it just brings awareness to what's normal and what's not normal. And I think the best description, we went into the 5th grade last week with Meredith, and she did mindful movements, which. Anyway, there's lots of issues, with 5th graders. There's a lot of changes going when you go to 6th grade, and so Miss Riley was like, "Come do this mindful movement." We wrote a grant, and Meredith got the training for this. But what it does is gives them tools, and so we went over like these. It's Miss Kendra's list, and it's like 6 things you should never be hit, punched, touched in your private parts. Like there's these certain rules that kids, but if they're living in that situation, they don't know that not everybody else is living in that situation. So just to bring awareness that, hey, and at the end we were like, guys, you know, if this is happening, we have all these caring adults around you, please tell us. You know, please don't just stay in this situation. So it's not, yes, we would love programming, but we're not at that place. We're just bringing awareness right now.
So basically, you're talking more of an educational event that may lead to counseling after.
Right, right. And yeah, it'd be nice. Do you want to, does the county want a mental health center?
We'd love one if we
I
could.
think it would be utilized more than you know.
Yeah, I think so too.
We laugh about it,
Yeah, because
The only problem there is goes back to the basic problem of where do we get the money to
well,
fund this thing?
and I mean, Kelly has brought it up, and I don't want to speak out of turn since he's not here, but for me, we have to vision differently as a healthcare system. You should not put this in the paper either. I'm going to get myself in trouble. But I think we've got to vision differently for what we're aiming, because we have all these mental health issues. We have addiction issues. And I think just this last year and a half of dealing with poverty, it's like they have nowhere to go. So why are they not repeating? Because we're not providing anything different than we have. So yeah, that is on the table. Rollins County got an opioid and mental health grant that they're working, and they want to work regionally. So the conversation in the next year, we will be having mental health kind of educational, one big educational event, but then also getting together as a region to say, what do we need to do different? Because we can't, each county have one healthcare or one Meredith or three, because now she's in the last 6 months has doubled her client load, and she's part-time. So now she's maxing out. Now we have a new student that's moving to McDonald that she's going to mentor. But how do we vision at that and say, how can we draw mental health providers here, but also how do we understand it, and can we do a center, or like Carla's region or vision from Atwood is that we kind of have a rotating clinic, that you have addictions counseling, that you have mental health counseling, that you have, one, and that you have one practitioner that kind of moves between the 4 counties. So each day, every Monday, it's in Cheyenne County, every Tuesday. And that's just a vision, but I wanted you guys to be aware that this conversation is not just happening in our county, because I go to Goodland and I hear the same thing, that they need mental health services, and Goodland has High Plains Mental Health right there. And I hear it from the families that I work with. I hear it from Cody. So, yeah.
And if I can add something.
No.
I would always love, and I tried to talk to, when we did that community Hanson thing where they had that pile of money,
Yeah.
I tried to bring up mental health, and it didn't last very long on the table. But I've always been a fan of, and I know it's financially prohibitive unless we find another way, of getting these same services here for people to use, but also into the jail. When you got a guy sitting in jail for 6 months, all he's doing is staring at the wall, then he gets out and he's expected to go to mental health treatment. He doesn't have a car, he doesn't have any ways, got to go someplace.
The best time is when you have them captive.
Mm-hmm. You have captive audience, exactly. But it's always been kind of a side project for me, but finding a way to pay for it has always been the hard part. I've talked to High Plains, I've talked to people, and it's just.
And Candy's right. It's not unique to us. It's nationwide. I mean, everybody's waking up to the fact that, hey, we need some mental health training or something.
Our state hospital is operating as a crisis center now. If somebody goes into crisis, we take them down there. They're down there 48, 72 hours. They're getting started on meds. They get an opening to counseling. Blah, blah, blah. They might get an appointment when they leave. Hey, when you get out, make sure you go see this guy. And again, that guy is going to be an hour and a half away from Cheyenne County. All they're doing is taking care of the crisis at hand and ending the crisis. They're not doing any long-term treatment or any long-term medication or anything. And you're just sending that person who's suffering from mental illness back to the place, and I always say it's hard to get better in the place you got sick. You're sending them straight back into that environment with no support at all. So, again, my question's always been, how do you pay for that?
But I feel like we're at, like with the funders, I think, because I write grants, like they've been asking, you know, like Kansas Health Foundation, and I don't need to name them, but they're asking, what can we do different? Like, we had a conference call a couple months ago, and they were like, where do you need the funding? I feel like the funders are finally turning around and saying, in your small communities, what do you need, as opposed to, this is the grant, this is the program we want you to feed. And I think that's what's unique about my grant, is that it's authentic engagement. So I could sit there with the food bank families, and they're like, we don't want to be entitled anymore. We want to do some work to get out of poverty. So then we created the Food Collective, you know. So we were like, okay, if you want to get out, let's set you apart and let's do something different. But they're giving feedback. This is what's not working. This is, like Cody said, you can't get there. I have one that drives, I mean, they're on a 3-month waiting list to get their meds adjusted. And then they have to drive to Colby to get on a computer to access Hayes. And that's not acceptable. That's not access. And so I guess I just wanted to give you guys hope that you're not the only ones wrestling with this, and that we are working on things. Regional is slow. I don't know what the answer is going to be and if it's going to get anywhere by the time my job is done, but that the funders are saying what will work, how do you need grants to address these mental health issues. The ACEs and the trauma-informed stuff is more preventative because it's so much cheaper to intervene early than wait till we have a full-blown Cody crisis, you know, and then we're, you know, the cost is just very big.
Would there be any cost to the participants in this, or is it open to?
It's just me. Yeah, you just show up. So the movie, I like the movie because, and you're welcome to get it from the library. It's 1 hour, and we just had a community showing in Bird, and then we had one here, and we had 10 or 12 people here. We had 7 over in Bird. It's just raising awareness that says, hey, we have this, you know, mental health crisis. What can we do differently about it? And start that conversation.
Well, at least we're started.
I just want to give you some hope that you're not like, oh, we're all dying and we have no mental health and we're crazy.
Yeah, and it's our fault.
Yes, it's all your fault. Pull
Yeah.
yourself up. So we are working on it. I don't know what the answer will be, but to me
Okay,
it's
well,
more
just-
hopeful that we're actually working on it and having a regional dialogue about what can we do different, because High Plains is not the end-all be-all, you know, and we all are struggling with the same issues. So taking down the silos and talking between counties to say what can we envision, because Hampton always wants to look regionally. They don't. So.
Sounds great. Just keep us informed and let us know if we can help you.
Okay. Any questions?
Are you here in the hospital? Do you have an office there?
I do.
Can I come by and talk to you for a while?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you some questions.
Yes. I'm usually there Mondays and Wednesdays. And
Okay.
I'm down by Tabitha's office. But
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Candy. Well, sorry, Cody, but
I missed my chance.
yeah.
I talked too long. Sorry, guys.
That's fine.
I'm assuming you're James.
He's got a gun, doesn't he? He can go if he
I
wants
ain't-
to.
I'm not scared of him. I've seen him shoot. We're all good.
Hey, the sun shines on the dogs, you know what, at least once a day. It might be his day.
I don't know.
I unfortunately did not bring it up.
You're fine.
So I'm James Foster with Rural Opportunity Zones, or I should say Kansas Department of Commerce. Scott asked me to come up and talk to you guys about the program a little bit. So this is the program that you're familiar with in the sense that it helps repay student loans with a match. When it first started, it was only available to do the match by the county. And since then, it has they've made it available so an employer can match instead of the county. It's money still, the county is still a participant. They still have to sign a resolution that say they want to participate, but they can sign that petition at a zero amount or up to, we've got some counties that are $70,000, $80,000 that they're kicking in for their match. So it is a local decision, not here to sway you one way or the other. Just to answer questions. As well, it is, and here's one where it might be advantageous for you guys in the sense that if you haven't had a Kansas source income over $10,000 in the last 5 years, then when you move to the state for the first 5 years, you can get your Kansas income tax rebated back to you. So where you guys are as close as you are to Denver, that area might be worthwhile. You think about trying to recruit within your school teachers and that sort of thing. You know, Colorado has the same program as Kansas where you could be retired and still be in your 50s as a teacher or government employee. So it might be a way to get that recruitment out here a little advantageous to say, well, you won't have
Just
to.
one more feather to try to
try
get
to bring
them
them here. Now they have expanded the student loan repayment piece to allow it to employees as well, cities, and as well foundations. So my understanding is with the county and the city piece, it is first come, first served, so you can't discriminate or pick off the list who you want. But as the employer, obviously, you get to sponsor your employee. But my understanding is you do not have to sponsor every employee. So if you want to sponsor Terry, but not Leslie, that's up to you as the employer.
That seems like a future fight that we don't want.
Well, yeah.
Bring it
You
on.
know, anybody that's had kids could see the flaw in that right away. But, and then foundation, my understanding is it will follow more closely the employer rules. So, as far as being able to pick and choose a little bit. So,
Okay.
questions? We do, our program manager would like to have a resolution every year. I'm guessing she's probably already sent one to you, sample resolution, maybe?
A while ago.
Okay.
It's just been sitting there.
With that, you
Trying
know.
to understand how this all works.
Yeah, so on the sample resolution, I believe you guys are at the spot where you guys are still technically participating, but you guys only want to finish out those that were already on prior to.
And is that why on the map it shows us with employer or county sponsorship?
So as long as you sign a resolution at 0, you will be on the map for the employer side. You will also be on the map most likely because, yes, you are finishing
Still
out.
finishing
Yeah,
those. Okay.
so you've got people that are county sponsored. So,
Okay.
I mean, even though you're not taking any new ones on that side of the list, you still are
Okay.
that
Okay.
that participation.
That's where I got confused.
So,
Plus, I had an individual contact me about it because we were listed as a county. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to get things cleared up.
make sure you
My
wear
mind,
where
right.
you.
Which I'm wondering about because I think the last resolution that I saw said 0.
Yeah.
And
So
I think so.
part of the rules when they began the program are that. So say the county went in for 1,500, so one person the first year, and then whatever happens, they decide not to continue that 1,500. Since that one person is in, they still have to continue their obligation they made to that person for the 5 years or shorter, depending on their student loan situation or how long they stay in your county and that sort of thing. So that way you end up changing it to 0, and then you just pay out those that you're obligated to. Does that answer your question?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like when it started, the county was a participant. But then it was decided to change that participation status. But because of the prior obligations, they are fulfilling those.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Because, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, go
If
ahead.
you have open budget, basically they'll roll on the next person. So, those counties that have $70,000 or so put in, every so many years, they've got a whole new slate of people that are going on the roll, for lack of a better term.
Okay, that clears it up a little for me.
Me too.
Okay, so are we gonna work on a resolution to,
Helen had brought a sample resolution at one point.
And actually, I'd have to say, if you are most likely going to, sounds like maybe stay the same way that you are, you could probably take last year's resolution, change the dates, and any according signatures.
I don't
I am
think one's
guessing.
been done for 2-3 years.
I don't think so either.
Okay. So, yeah, that way you were clear in where you were at. And if you don't have that, email me and
Okay.
I'll send you a copy of the sample so
great.
you guys can, it should be one that you can fill in and then just print off, and William can cover the tab on that.
yeah, he's our money guy, that's for sure.
Business, for Department of Commerce, we also do business incentives and the other programs such as CDBG, which is the Community Block Development Grant, as well as CSP, which is Community Service Tax Credit Program. Your hospital has applied in the past for the Community Service Tax Credit Program, and what that one does is they apply to do a project, then they sell tax credits. I'm guessing some of you have probably bought them or known people that have bought them. The CDBG one is for sewer, water, bridges, roads, that sort of thing, related to low to moderate income need and basis.
So just for a little bit of clarification, the contact person in Cheyenne County would be Helen Dobbs, is that correct?
That's usually who we go through as
Right.
far as economic development and business stuff. Yeah, and she's great. As well, we were just at city council answering questions about CDBG stuff. the
So
other
I guess
night.
if anybody shows interest, she would be the contact person.
Yeah, that's
to
who-
seek
yeah.
out here in Cheyenne County.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I know small communities, grew up in a few of them. Well, got older in a few of them, maybe I should say, but, and if it's something where somebody doesn't want to share what's gonna be, they can always email us, and then as they're comfortable sharing, we'll take it to whoever is. But if you want something to be kept confidential, please let us know ahead of time. That way we don't, because once we get it, we're the connectors pretty much, so we don't have all the answers, so we're gonna seek out how to solve as much of your related issue as we can, so.
Okay. Well, sounds great. I wish we had more people taking advantage of it, but that's the way it always is.
Yeah, I know, and my best example is the teacher example, because you get the retired teachers possibly out of Colorado, and you guys do the NRP still or not, the neighborhood revitalization? So realistically, you get a retired man or woman at their 50s that has probably enough money to build their own house and get their property tax rebated back, as well as get their income tax rebated back for the 5 years, and you get an experienced teacher for another 5 years or so,
Yeah.
and they're still close enough to Denver to go do the fun stuff that they wanted to do anyway. So,
Well, sounds great.
other questions, concerns?
That cleared it up. I'm glad you came, so.
All right,
Thank you.
anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks. Try to stay dry the next couple days. Work on that shooting stuff.
Good morning, Cody.
Good morning, how are you doing?
We're good.
We need to talk to you guys in executive session for non-elected personnel.
How much time do you need?
Probably, you guys have 15 minutes?
We have 15 minutes.
So move.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of 15 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel? Aye.
I'm very comfortable with what I said being in the paper. I don't know where she cut you off, but.
Okay.
Consider